Hello, I'm Mikko Tarmia, the composer from Amnesia. The Guardian monster has its own musical theme, which you can hear in many situations in the game, even if the Guardian is not physically present. Actually, it's more like a noise sound than a certain melody, and I played it with my bassoon. The theme has many forms, and this one is almost a direct sound coming from the instrument. And this noise, which sounds like screaming, is a highly modified version of it.
First, the creature in the water, affectionately called Lurky here at Frictional Games, did not have a sense of sound. Later on we wanted to add it though, so the player could lure it away by throwing stuff in the water. When I added this, something unexpected happened. Lurky started following me. When you jump on the crate, it hears the sound you make when you land and it goes there to investigate. This was very fun emergent behavior, and I think it made him even more menacing. I also want to add that Lurker was kind of inspired by my favorite movie as a child, Tremors. I guess this early obsession might also explain some creatures in our older games.
Hi, I am Tapio, and I made monster sounds and vision
This
sounds.
level is the high point of the lurker build-up, which sort of started in the entrance level with a slide. It's supposed to be a sort of roller coaster. It's designed to be easy enough to be completed on the first try. Yep, it should also be stressful. Many of the things in the level, it seems like you barely make it, or just scripted to be that way. But it's nothing to notice because they're blended in with the true dance. This level is the high point of the lurker build-up, which sort of started in the entrance level with a slide. It's supposed to be a sort of roller coaster. It's designed to be easy enough to be completed on the first try. Yep, it should also be stressful. Many of the things in the level, it seems like you barely make it, or just scripted to be that way. But it's nothing to notice because they're blended in with the true depth. This is the second hub level of the game, and is supposed to give some contrast to the stressful lurker encounter. We think building up contrast like this is extremely important for the horror mood. Only by seeing a bright level can you appreciate the dark one, and so on. If you do not do this, player will get used to the stuff and the effect will lessen greatly.
In the original page,
My journal is gone. What would they want with my journal?
If you listen to the music tracks more carefully, you may find that characters have their own musical themes, which can usually be heard when you read papers during the game. These themes appears in many variations, so it's not always so easy to recognize them immediately. And in the end of the game, some of these themes will go quite insane. Oh, and that's Daniel's theme, which you can hear in the game's menu screen. Let me play it to you with piano.
July 1839. I received a letter today from the Algerian governor's office disclosing the fate of Herbert's expedition. About a week after my departure, Abdullah, one of the men traveling with us, returned from the desert. He was badly injured, as if maimed by a lion. The man rambled deliriously about the expedition being attacked by something horrible. The French quickly dispatched a search party to look for the expedition. After searching for days, they found the camp abandoned without any trace of Herbert or his men. Tomorrow, I'll retrieve the things they recovered from Herbert's tent at the customs house. I don't know what to make of it, but I'm worried for him.
When we create props, we usually have concept pictures or reference images to look at when modeling the object, just to make sure it stays within the art style that we are going for. When creating a chair, a table, or a bookcase, just to name a few, we usually have to plan the measurements before we get them into the game, because having something in the game that isn't the right size can break the immersion. But sometimes you have to cheat that and test it out, because the camera perspective can really trick you. I have the perfect example of the camera tricking you sometimes. Take out the lantern in-game and look at the wall or an object in the same height as the lantern and try guessing.
Daniel is a pretty complicated character to write for, as we didn't want the player to feel that they were losing control by having feelings imposed on them. After the amnesia kicks in, everything which is Daniel is essentially gone. The player is the new Daniel, and he should be able to act the way he pleases, and even reject his own background as he discovers it. That is why everything concerning Daniel is flashbacks. Even the diary entries are read as what is being told is happening right now. That is, it is the old Daniel telling the story, and not the player reading it.
3rd of July, 1839. Today I picked up Herbert's things at the customs house. I dug through the trove of documents he had carried and found a log detailing the expedition. The nature of this text ranged from quick notes to colourful accounts of transpired events. I skimmed the pages, trying to figure out what might have happened. May 17th, the day I was trapped inside the orb chamber, Herbert dryly states, "Recovered Daniel after 1 hour of entrapment." This confused me greatly. I was suffocating within minutes. How could I have lasted an hour? I continued reading the peculiar text. Herbert states his facts without judgment or passion, but suddenly I could read frustration into his text. He pushed his men to investigate the underground tomb, an effort which seems to have strained the minds of his men. Madness spread through the ranks, and Herbert had to take some extreme measures to continue. He finally visits the chamber himself, where he retrieves the orb to the surface. His account confuses me greatly. If he has the orb, what are those pieces in my drawing room?
In this room, everything is connected to destruction and home. This was Daniel's home as Alexander's guest, and the diary entries are about Daniel being home in London and things falling apart. These sort of connections are not something that we want the player to get. Rather, it should end up in the subconscious and work toward building the mood. Also worth noting is this focus, as explained in the commentary of Winecellar, where we want the player's attention on a certain aspect. We hope this makes the story clearer. The idea is to slowly build it up, one part at a time, giving the player time to digest and think about it.
This map was one of the most fun to make because of the rooms have more objects than we usually add in the level. I think the first 2 rooms was pretty good, just because of this. But we can't add this many objects in every room in the game, because that would, first of all, be very demanding on your PC's performance, and a lot of our players doesn't have gaming rigs. Secondly, it wouldn't make sense if every room or corridor was a storage. We also try very hard to vary the levels and rooms as much as we can do. This level was also the first time in the game the player had any contact with the outside. So for this part I had to make a couple of different wall pieces, a pine tree and a breakable version of the window. And I can talk a little bit more about the breakable window here. When creating breakable objects like this, we have to first of all break the model by splitting parts up and creating pieces. Like on this window, it has a lot of wood parts that are loose after it breaks. Those parts are remodeled into broken versions, and in the broken version of the window they're actually hanging in the air at the same place they were when the window was whole. After modeling those and exporting the model into collada format, which our engine handles, I use our in-house model editor, set each wood part up with a body for collision, and I also add a weight for it to behave realistically. I also add material type, in this case wood. And that is so that wood sound is played when a piece hits something. You can also set up more advanced stuff like how it will behave in water, how fast it can travel, and how fast the speed will decay, but also a lot of other settings as well. But when that broken version is done, I also set up a special entity of the original window where I set it to break at a certain force, and when that happens another entity will load and this one will disappear. And in this case we load the broken version of the window. We also set it up so a particle system with glass shards is going to be played as well as a break sound. And as soon as you break that window, and all that is happening, and since you probably threw something at the window, the force of that object will make the wood pieces fly, not fall straight to the ground as they would otherwise. That is pretty much how we do it with most breakable entities. But of course, creating a particle system and sounds for this is needed too. And in this level, you can also see a lot of props that I made earlier, before we started making maps. This is objects like shelves, tables, chairs, paintings, etc. But of course I didn't make all the objects in this level.
Let's see what you have to offer. What a mess. I should have sharpened the saw, but I can sense it. It's definitely there.
An ascending room. Will it take us to the inner sanctum?
It will definitely take care of the vertical part of our journey. So, you have ridden an elevator before?
Yes, the Colosseum at Regent's Park has one. It takes you to the gallery where you can view the panorama.
Good. This ride might be a little longer, and in the other direction.
Again, there's a lot of elements here working together. Not only does the player enter the darkest level yet, they'll also come up against a dark part of Daniel's memories. We've tried to have all aspects of the level work towards this goal. Hopefully it creates an oppressive and disturbing feel to it.
Please, let me go! I won't tell anyone, I swear! I just want to go home!